From two all-time greats who couldn't help but butt heads, to a literal Mexican standoff that could have got ugly. These are the spiciest beefs in NBA history that we've ever seen. When it comes to professional sports, it's no surprise that great talents often come hand in hand with huge egos. And when those egos collide, the results can get pretty ugly. In the team sport that basketball is, you'd expect teammates to get along, all striving towards the same goal of winning games and stacking championship rings. But unfortunately, that's not always how it plays out. One of the more well-known examples of this is the legendary feud that went on for years between none other than Shaquille O'Neal and the late Kobe Bryant. These two legends played together for the Los Angeles Lakers from 1996 to 2004, and despite the fact that they won 3 consecutive championships while playing together, their different playing styles and overinflated egos led to plenty of backstage drama. The two had polar opposite personalities off the court, and while on it, both players had a very ball-dominant style, which led to them butting heads numerous times. I guess winning isn't enough. Everyone wants to be the star of the show. Anyway, things got so heated between the pair after Kobe said some unsavory things about Shaq to the press that Shaq had a meltdown and said he wanted to murder his fellow teammate. I'm sure it was just hyperbole in the heat of the moment, but that just shows you how much distaste these guys had for each other. If they managed to get along, who knows? Maybe they could have won a few more championship rings together. But unfortunately, that would never happen, because in 2004, Shaq was traded to the Miami Heat, with Kobe remaining with the Lakers until his final season. Later in life, the two were able to patch things up, but it sure sucks that they couldn't have learned to get along when they played together. Now, while Shaq and Kobe clashed over basketball, at least the feud didn't involve their respective partners. The same can't be said for this next pair, whose falling out was directly related to one of them getting a little too friendly. Brent Barry and Tony Parker were friends and teammates from 2004 to 2008, when they played for the San Antonio Spurs. Tony will always hold a special place in the hearts of Spurs fans due to his contribution to 4 of their 5 championship rings. But I'm pretty sure that as much as those fans love him, Brent Barry must hate the guy. 2007 was a great year for Tony, as he married the gorgeous actress Eva Longoria and assisted the Spurs in winning the NBA Finals. Now, Tony got along well with most of his teammates, but he particularly liked spending time with shooting guard Brent Barry. And due to the time they spent together hanging out, he ended up getting to know Erin Barry as well, Brent's wife and high school sweetheart. And everything was great. But all that took a nasty turn when Parker became a little too friendly with Brent's wife. Although it's alleged that nothing physical happened between the two, Ava caught Erin and Tony exchanging some, how shall I put this, very interesting texts. The kinds of texts that contain photos of bathroom mirrors, if you catch my drift. While this came to light, Longoria divorced Tony, and understandably, Brent and Erin's 12-year marriage ended. The pair went from friends and teammates to bitter rivals, and that drama between the two caused a lot of confusion for the Spurs behind the scenes. It's surprising that they were able to endure a full season together after what happened. Now, Tony Parker isn't the only NBA player to spark a bitter feud with a fellow teammate and ruin some relationships in the process. Just take the messy situation that went down between Nick Young, the shooting guard who played for the Los Angeles Lakers from 2013 to 2017, and his younger teammate, D'Angelo Russell. Apparently, during the 2017 season, the whole team had been participating in a prank war, but Russell took things a little too far when he recorded Young confessing to having cheated on his then-fiancée, Australian rapper Iggy Azalea. Now, it's not clear how the footage got out because Russell vehemently denies having leaked the video. Who knows, maybe someone hacked the young player's phone. But somehow the video ended up on the internet, and neither Young or any of his teammates were impressed. Azalea ended her engagement with Nick, and Russell's teammates began to shun him, viewing what he did as a grievous betrayal of trust. The two players were understandably on bad terms afterwards, and Young has said that he'll never be cool with Russell after what he did. Now, so far, despite the messiness of some of these feuds, none of them have resulted in all-out brawls. But the same can't be said for this next beef, which eventually ended in blows between these fellow teammates. O.J. Mayo and Tony Allen had one of the pettiest beefs in the NBA. And it all started over a game of cards. In 2011, they were both playing for the Memphis Grizzlies. The pair were on a flight home from Los Angeles after a close victory against Oklahoma Thunder. Look, we all know how boring flights can get, so I guess the two players decided to pass the time with a good old game of cards. Apparently, they were playing a game called Boo-Ray, which seems like quite an innocent name for a fight starter. There must have been money on the line. As the altercation began, when after the game, Mayo owed Allen some money. Allen later described the amount as short money, while another source alleged that it was a few grand. Either way, the number was obviously enough for the pair to get heated. Mayo started getting belligerent with his teammate, who reportedly walked away trying to cool off, while he approached his teammate again and Mayo continued to antagonize him. I guess Allen saw no other course of action than to hit his teammate. Eventually, the two were separated and brought before the Grizzlies coach, Lionel Hollins. Following the altercation, Mayo was excluded from the next game, with bronchitis being cited as the official reason. But I wouldn't be surprised if tensions were still running high after their little spat. It'd take me a while to get over getting punched in the face too. Now, if you thought that beef was unnecessary and extreme, at least none of those beefs involved any firearms, right? Gilbert Arenas was one of the most electrifying players to watch in the 2000s, and while he was playing for the Washington Wizards, the team welcomed a young player named Javaris Crittenton in 2009. On a team flight with the young newcomer, the players opted to play cards to pass the time, and unfortunately, Javaris was getting fleeced. Gilbert, who was a big trash talker on the court and able to back it up, saw an opportunity to take Javaris' money. And while doing this, he continued to trash talk his new teammate. Not exactly the best strategy for a warm welcome, if you ask me. Well, Javaris got so angry that at one point, he told Gilbert that he'd shoot him. On December 31st of that year, Arenas decided to call Javaris on his bluff, walking into the locker room with 4 unloaded guns, asking his young teammate to pick one. In response, Javaris pulled out a gun of his own, and the pair ended up in a Mexican standoff that cleared the room faster than a bad fart. While no one ended up getting hurt, their reckless behavior didn't go without consequence, as they were both suspended by David Stern, the NBA commissioner at the time. Javaris ended up being involved in a manslaughter case that landed him a 23-year sentence, and Gilbert was out of the league only 2 years after this incident. So there you have it, folks. NBA players are human like the rest of us, and sometimes teammates get into the pettiest and most dangerous feuds. So, from two all-time greats who couldn't help but butt heads, to a literal Mexican standoff that could have got ugly, those were the spiciest beefs in NBA history that we've ever seen.